Good evening. President Bongbong Marcos stresses his commitment to continue to protect the Philippine territories following China's installation of floating barriers in the West Philippine Sea. This is the first time that Marcos has directly spoken about the issue since reports of a floating barrier installed by Chinese vessels in Scarborough Shoals surfaced early this week. The Philippine Coast Guard has removed the barrier on the orders of the Commander-in-Chief. In an ambush interview with the media, Marcos says the Philippines is not looking for trouble, emphasizing that the country is only defending its maritime territory.
Hindi tayo naghahanap ng gulo. Basta't gagawin natin, patuloy natin ipapagtanggol ang Pilipinas, ang maritime territory ng Pilipinas, ang mga ang karapatan ng mga fisherman natin na mag-isda doon sa mga areas kung saan sila nangingisda daang-daang taon na.
Marcos, who is also the Agriculture Secretary, emphasizes that the removal of the barriers had to be done for the fisherfolk. He says after the barrier was cut, fisherfolk were able to get 164 tons of fish in the area. According to the President, he was refraining from using any hostilities, but China's barrier needed to be removed.
Umiiwas tayo sa mga maiinit na salita, ngunit matibay ang ating pagdepensa sa teritoryo ng Pilipinas. Again, many of these are operational issues and that I really cannot talk about. But in terms of taking down the barrier, I don't see what else we could do.
Pagasa says the low-pressure area east of Central Luzon has entered the Philippine Area of Responsibility and developed into Tropical Depression Jenny. According to Pagasa, the LPA entered Bar and became a tropical depression at 2 p.m. on Friday. In its 5 p.m. bulletin, the State Weather Bureau says Tropical Depression Jenny is seen to become a typhoon by Wednesday during its close approach over Batanes. Pag-asa is not ruling out a landfall scenario over Batanes and Babuyan Islands or northeastern mainland Cagayan. Jenny is currently not directly affecting the country, but Pag-asa says the tropical depression's proximity to land from the forecast track may bring heavy rainfall over Batanes and Babuyan Islands in the next 5 days. Jenny may also enhance the southwest monsoon or habagat starting Sunday, which could bring occasional rains over the western portions of central and southern Luzon. Tropical cyclone wind signals may be raised over parts of northern Luzon starting Sunday. State meteorologists say it last spotted Jenny 1,400 kilometers east of southeastern Luzon, packing maximum sustained winds of 45 kilometers per hour and gustiness of up to 55 kilometers per hour. The United States says China is manipulating global media through censorship, data harvesting, and covert purchases of foreign news outlets. The U.S. State Department's Global Engagement Center says in a report that Beijing has spent billions of dollars annually on information manipulation efforts. According to the report, these efforts include acquiring stakes in foreign media through public and non-public means, sponsoring online influencers, and securing distribution agreements that promote unlabeled Chinese government content. Citing public reports and what U.S. calls newly acquired government information, the U.S. says that Beijing had created its own information ecosystem by co-opting foreign political elites and journalists. It also claims that China invested in satellite networks and digital television services in developing regions that prioritize Chinese state-backed media content. The U.S. warns the trend could lead to a sharp contraction of global freedom of expression. The U.S. report comes amid controversy over China's efforts in recent years to expand the global footprint of its government-controlled media, especially as geopolitical competition between Beijing and Washington has intensified. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas says overall inflation in the Philippines is expected to have climbed up some more in September. BSP says inflation in September is somewhere in the range of 5.3% to 6.1% in September from 5.3% in August. The Philippine Statistics Authority will announce by October 5 the official readout for September. In a statement, BSP says higher prices of fuel, electricity, and key agricultural commodities, as well as the peso depreciation, are the primary sources of upward price pressures in September. Meanwhile, lower rice and meat prices could contribute to downward price pressures for the month. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources is suspending a land agreement with Socorro Bayanihan Services Inc. pending further investigation into the group's violations. In a statement on Friday, the ENR says it is suspending its protected area community-based resource management agreements with the group pending a probe into the organization's gross violation of terms. According to the ENR, the Protected Area Community-Based Resource Management Agreement is an agreement between the DENR and the organized tenured migrant communities or interested indigenous peoples in protected areas and buffer zones. DENR says it began its investigation into the group's activities in 2019 for violations including restricting entry into the area and establishing checkpoints and military-like training, among others. The agency says it has called the attention of the organization in 2021 and 2022 for recurring violations but received no response. DENR says it will work with government agencies and other authorities to ensure the smooth enforcement of the suspension and the possible resettlement of occupants. The Senate is also investigating Socorro Bayanihan Services Inc., which reportedly subjects its members to sexual violence, forced marriage, and forced labor. The group's leader, J. Renz Kilario, otherwise known as Senyor Aguila, has denied these accusations. A social weather station survey shows that half of Filipinos expressed dissatisfaction over the K-12 basic education program in the country. Based on the SWS survey, 50% say they were dissatisfied with the program, while only 39% were satisfied. On the other hand, 9% say they were undecided, while 2% say they did not have enough knowledge to provide an opinion. In a bid to decongest the existing curriculum and focus on essential skills of literacy and numeracy, the Department of Education earlier launched the revised K-10 curriculum, which is part of the K-12 program. It is currently on a pilot implementation in 35 schools across the country. In the same SWS survey, results show that a majority or a whopping 89% of respondents said they preferred the June to March academic calendar. Only 10% say they preferred September to June, while 1% say they have no specific preference. Lawmakers and teachers groups have called to revert to the pre-pandemic school calendar of June to March, following complaints of difficulty holding classes during summer. However, DepEd previously said returning to the previous academic calendar is still unlikely next year. The Bureau of Fire Protection reports 9 people were hurt in a fire that hit a storage facility in Valenzuela City on Thursday. BFP on Friday says 9 people, including 8 firefighters, suffered minor lacerations, minor blisters, punctures, and abrasions on their extremities. According to BFP, one of the firefighters sustained a first-degree burn on a part of his face. The fire broke out in a storage facility in G. Molina Street, Barangay Bagbagin, Valenzuela City on Thursday. First alarm was raised at 12:31 p.m. and reached Task Force Bravo at 3:40 p.m. on Thursday. The fire was eventually declared under control at 5:37 p.m. on Friday. According to the Valenzuela City government, 819 individuals are staying in evacuation centers due to the blaze as of 3 p.m. on Friday. Here's the latest roundup of today's top stories. Low pressure area east of Central Luzon enters Philippine area of responsibility and develops into tropical depression Jenny. President Bongbong Marcos breaks his silence on China's floating barrier, says Philippines is not looking for trouble, but stresses that we will defend our territory and the rights of our fishermen. And United States accuses China of global media manipulation. And these are the stories you need to know today. I'm Neil Mercado. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good evening.